Isang pinagpala at magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. So today, as we celebrate the feast of the Exaltation of the Holy Cross, we have special readings. Ano pong pinanggalingan nito? Itong kapistahan. Remember, before there was only one feast, Feast of the Resurrection of the Lord. Later on, through the centuries, different feasts focus on the Lord, on our Blessed Mother and the saints, emerged. So, kailan po nagsimula ito? It was more of to remember the discovery of the Holy Cross, which was in 360, 4th century. Yung mother ni King Constantine, si Queen Helena, discovered the cross in Calvary. Pagkatapos po ng kamatay ni Jesus, many things took place. There were times when they tried to erase the past. Just like some people today, they try to erase the past, and yet the history cannot just be revised. The truth will always come out. So, maraming pagkakataon, they tried to desecrate the place where Jesus was crucified and died. But later on, when the Constantine came into power, so he built a basilica in the place where Jesus was crucified and buried. So, at the same time, hindi malayo yon, yung pagkatuklas, Saint Helena discovering the true cross of Jesus at saka yung consecration of basilica was not that fun. Almost the same decade when it took place. So, my dear friends, the feast is to remind us, as we have said in the responsorial psalm, do not forget the works of the Lord. Do not forget the works of the Lord. In the first reading, we heard how the Israelites, their lives were marked with two things: complaint and forgetfulness. They would always forget. They would always about the wonderful works of the Lord. They will always complain, as we heard in the first reading. And yet God's love does not change. Hindi nagbabago ang pag-ibig ng Diyos. He promised to redeem us. Whatever that means, God was willing to pay the price. And the second reading Paul reminds us how Jesus emptied himself for our sake, that we may be filled with God. Kaya sa Gospel, we hear the famous Bible verse from John, which many of us know and which we often see in many places. For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son. So I'd just like to share with you a few thoughts about the cross. So first, the cross was a symbol, before torture, punishment. But through the wisdom of God, this symbol has changed. It's not anymore a sign of torture, punishment, cruelty. The cross is a symbol of God's infinite love, God's unconditional love. As St. Paul tells us, we can never measure the height, the depth, the width of God's love. So that's one. The cross is a sign of God's invincible, unconditional, infinite love for us. And that will not change. And yet, this love, secondly, it has a transforming power. It has changed the hearts of people. It has changed the destiny of humanity. And so, this feast continues to occur in our day-to-day life. The exaltation, or sometimes we call it the triumph of the cross. When we turn away from our sinful ways, from our self-centeredness, there is the triumph of the cross. Whenever we embrace Jesus with greater faith, whenever we try to imitate Jesus in reaching out to people, in giving ourselves unselfishly, there is the triumph of the cross. So the cross is not just a decoration. In most churches, we see the cross at the center. A lot of people, they wear a pendant, the cross. And yet, what's more important is what takes place in our life. Does the cross triumph in our life? I hope and pray the cross, which is the symbol of God's infinite love, God's unconditional love, will always be manifested, expressed in our day-to-day life. Amen.